Our next speaker is going to be Thaddeus McCotter, and he is elected to use 5 minutes of his time to have SE Cup introduce him. I do also want to announce that the ballots are going to close by 3:15, so you will have about 15 minutes after the speech to cast your ballots, but please do so by 3:15. Also, an announcement is that we found a necklace with an elephant on it. If anyone knows who that is, come see me. But next up speaker is SE Cup. Please give her a warm New Hampshire welcome.
Thanks. Hi, how are you? Great. It's great to be here. I grew up not far from here, down in Massachusetts, just over the border. Always love coming home. Good to see you. I just want to start by saying that at this very moment, some of the best race car drivers in the country and Dale Earnhardt Jr. are practicing, getting ready for tomorrow's race in Michigan in Thaddeus McCotter's home track. I know some people find going around in circles for hours a little weird, but Congressman McCotter works in Washington, so unfortunately he's used to that. I want to share just a couple quick anecdotes about Congressman McCotter because I happen to know him. We'll say better than the average voter, not as good as his immediate family. And I'm sick of hearing people tell me that they don't know who he is. That didn't stop anyone from voting for Obama, so let's not use that as an excuse anymore. And now, after I share a couple of these stories, you won't be able to say, who's that guy? One, Thad went to the Conservative Principals Conference in Des Moines earlier this year. He told the crowd that he drove the 17-hour round-trip drive from Detroit alone because, quote, if you spent 8.5 hours in a car with me, it would violate the Geneva Convention. True story. Earlier that day, he sat outside the ballroom at a table with his books, Seize Freedom, with a sign that read, unsigned, $20, signed, $15, no haggling. Story number 2. His Twitter bio reads, U.S. Rep for Michigan's 11th District, Financial Services Committee member, U.S. Rep Colin Peterson's erstwhile guitar player, and ugly sweater maven. Story number 3, President George W. Bush calls him that rock and roll dude because he's in a band. It's called the Second Amendments. Get on board. So he's literally the anti-Obama. Let me explain to you why. While Obama was getting his bona fides at Columbia and Harvard Law School, McCotter was toiling away in total obscurity at the infrequently cited University of Detroit. Ever heard of it? No? Okay. While Obama was teaching constitutional law at the University of Chicago, McCotter was practicing law in Southeast Michigan. While Obama was writing his memoirs, McCotter was rewriting the Wayne County Charter to ensure that any new taxes would win the approval of 60% of voters. Obama may have charisma, but let me tell you, charisma is currently in Martha's Vineyard, presiding over 9% unemployment, 3 wars, and a rising debt and deficit that resulted in the first credit downgrade in the history of this country. We are done with charisma, luckily for Congressman McCotter. What we want is substance. We need real ideas, real solutions to the very real problems that we're all dealing with right now. We need real leadership. And if you're here in New Hampshire, I hope that means that you believe that Congressman McCotter could be that leader. I am proud to introduce, honored to introduce my friend, Congressman Thaddeus McCotter.
I have very good news. Very good news. I am your last speaker. And I bring you more good news. I will be very brief. As we all know, this is a very important election. We all understand it's a very important time in the life of the country. But I, for one, do not subscribe to the concept of apocalyptic conservatism. I still believe that the ultimate strength and salvation of the United States remains her free people. It remains you. And what we have to do is make sure that in the 21st century, to affirm and continue the greatness of America that was bequeathed to us and which we will bequeath to our children, we have to take the power away from a highly centralized, bureaucratized, imploding welfare state, from those bureaucrats, and put it back in your hands. If you think about it, in every aspect of your life, this is occurring already. We live in what is called a communications revolution. We live in the age of globalization. When you go online at home, you are no longer bound to get your news from 3 major networks. You can seek information from any source you wish in the stroke of a key. In a BlackBerry in the palm of your hand, you can order a good or service around the world in seconds. You live in what is a consumer-driven economy, a democratized marketplace that every day is leading you closer and closer to extents undreamt of liberty and self-government. The only entity that is not responding to this change within how people live is the federal government. And the attempts of the Obama administration and the attempts of the Democratic Party through the stimulus, through higher taxes that they're calling for, through greater spending that they're calling for, is to prop up the welfare state, which is non-sustainable. And I would argue, in fact, threatens the very social safety net, which so many of us support for those who cannot help themselves. The implosion of the welfare state and the massive deficits and debts which are incurred are a drag on our economy. But what is very important to remember as well, as some of our speakers have touched on, is we are living in a period of a great deflation. We are seeing the greatest contraction of credit since the Great Depression. If this issue is not addressed, if the failed Wall Street bailout banks are not forced to recapitalize at their expense, not yours, if the ones that are insolvent are not separated out, if they're closed down and have their assets put in Resolution Trust Corp., if their leverage limits are not such that they can never implode again, all the tax relief in the world, all the regulatory reform in the world, and all the energy policy improvements that we want will not get us out of a period of prolonged stagnation. This is something that Mr. Bernanke still does not understand, and that this administration does not understand. We know that recently the Federal Reserve talked about keeping interest rates almost at 0 for another 2 years. This is not going to work, because it is not a question of the money supply. It is a question of the multipliers within the economy, namely the small businesses, the entrepreneurs, the innovators that will grow the economy in the near term and shape the economy for the 21st century. And to do so, they need access to capital, access to credit. So if you restructure the federal government to remove that debt drag on the economy, if you force the restructure and recapitalization of the big Wall Street failed bailout banks, you will see 2 great anchors and impediments to the growth of the American economy removed. So 14 million Americans can again find work. So 30 million Americans or more that cannot switch jobs because there are no better ones out there can finally begin to again pursue their prosperity and their dreams in better positions. And so that an entire generation of youth is not forced to realize that the place the Obama administration has reserved for them in the new normal economy is their parents' basement. As the parent of a college-age son, I really hope that's not what happens, any more than he does. And finally, we have to accept the fact that as a free people, not only do you inspire the world, but you constitute a threat to every terrorist and tyrant who would oppress their own people or subjugate others. Because as their people suffer, they look to you to see what a free people can achieve. And they ask the tyrants and they ask the despots, why can't we have our God-given liberty the same way they do? This is why, although the temptation is great, We cannot simply retrench. We cannot simply retreat from the world, because the problems we leave behind, especially if we break our word to the people we told we would help give them an opportunity to be free, the problems will follow us to our doorstep. This is not the 1970s. The problems that we leave behind us overseas will continue to try to follow us home. So in a nation in stagnation, a nation that finds itself with its security threatened, we can sense the chaos in our midst because we are being neither led nor governed by the Obama administration. We can look at the jeopardy around us, or we can seize the opportunity amidst the crisis to play our part in continuing this revolutionary experiment in liberty and self-government. I have no doubt we will, and I promise you that if honored to be the Republican nominee for President of the United States, and then honored to serve as your President of the United States, I will not be a president for the pundits. I'm hungry. You didn't eat all the lobster, did you, dude? It's a nice look. It looks like a budding drummer. I love a picnic. I promise not to be a president for the pundits or the bundlers or the powerful. I will be a president for the people. I will be a president for you. Thank you for listening to me, and now with whatever time I got left, we're going to play again.